welcome to my Cobra Kai video. Woo! So, right off the bat, if you're a person and you're watching this video and you're like, you get into it and you're like, wow, I love Cobra Kai, and Allison hates it. Why'd she make this whole video about Cobra Kai when she just talks about how much she hates it? I actually have no idea how this video is gonna go. It might not even come off like I hate it, but I would like the record to show super do not hate Cobra Kai. The show, the dojo, we'll get into it. We'll see. But like, Cobra Kai is a show that I watched the first season when it came out when I was a freshman in high school, and I illegally watched it via clips on YouTube because it was just on YouTube Red, and I wasn't gonna pay for YouTube Red as a freshman in high school. But yeah, I watched every single season when it came out. I have kind of like grown with the show, I would say, because I figure the final season came out right around when I was turning 21, so that's crazy. But yeah, this is a show that I really love this show, and I watch it sometimes when I'm like sad or ill and stuff, but I do think that it is a terrible show and I would not recommend it to anyone. But yeah, I think it's amazing, but also really terrible, and that's why I want to talk about it, because I want to have you, the people, understand why it is such a, such a mixed bag of and just ugh. So without further ado, welcome to Cobra Kai Thoughts and Feelings. What do they say? Do they say things? Let's find out. Also, I would like to acknowledge that obviously I am referencing a different Netflix TV show with that title that is much better than Cobra Kai. So you should definitely go watch that show and not Cobra Kai. But I'm not making a video about that show because way better people have made videos about that show, and yeah. So let's get into it. So first up, I think organization of this, mostly what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move through some of like the key character. First up, I'm gonna do a review of the entire show, because to be honest, I feel that most of the people watching this video will have never seen the show. So for them, I'm gonna review the entire show, and then we're gonna move through various characters in the show and talk about like what they exemplify kind of in the show, and try and like use them to talk about various themes. But obviously, like, all these characters interact, so there's gonna be a lot of like overlapping of them. Okay, so the show starts out and we have Johnny Lawrence of the Cobra Kai dojo. So right in like the very first scene, it is if you didn't know this is a sequel series to the Karate Kid movies from like the 80s. So it starts out, it's the very end of the first Karate Kid movie. Johnny gets crane kicked in the face and he loses the All Valley. And flash forward like 30 something years, and he's kind of a disaster. He's working like he's like a handyman, and he's an alcoholic, and he has a kid he doesn't talk to, and he has to ask money from his stepdad, for stuff, because he's a disaster. He gets fired from his job, and then he meets this kid, Miguel. And Miguel is this like pretty nerdy kid. He gets bullied, and Miguel's like, can you teach me karate? And Johnny's like, no, because, I'm too much of a disaster to teach people karate. And then Johnny has a change of heart, and he was like, you know what? I'm getting my life together. I'm gonna teach karate. So he reopens Cobra Kai. Side note, when I got dressed this morning, I was like, yeah, I'll wear this. It's a little bit preppy because I'm recording this in the library, and I feel like looking a little preppy will like help people think that I'm not recording a YouTube video. Maybe they'll think I'm like doing something more indicative of the purpose of a library. But then I was like, I'll put on the baseball cap to like kind of even out the outfit so I don't look too preppy, and now I feel like I look like I voted for Trump. Yeah, my bad. I didn't, but yeah. So if you watch this video and you're like, damn, she looks like she voted for Trump, I didn't. So get wrecked. Okay, so Johnny, he restarts Cobra Kai, and he's got Miguel, who's really nerdy, but you know, he's like hardworking and chipper, and he wants to try hard. And that's when we meet Daniel. And Daniel is like, let me draw this out on the board. Okay, so we got Johnny, Miguel. It's like a sensei line, and then we meet Daniel. I already hate this idea. You can't even see it on the companion. Whatever. Oh. So we have Johnny and Daniel, and Daniel is the person who did the crane kicking in the Karate Kid movie. So Daniel finds out the Cobra Kai is getting reopened, and he is devastated. He's like, what? I've tried so hard to destroy this group of children, and now it's back? No! I don't like Daniel. I'm just gonna say it. So, if you watch this video and you're like, wow, Daniel's the worst, how is he possibly like a redeemable character? I don't know, man. But, so Daniel finds out that Johnny's restarting Cobra Kai, and he like tries to like raise his rent and stuff, and he does a bunch of stuff to try and get Cobra Kai out, and it's not really working for him. And like his wife is like, dude, also we'll talk about his wife later, but she's the best character on the entire show. She's the best. But she's like, dude, you're spending way too much time on this weird karate rivalry, like calm down. But yeah, so then season 1 progresses. Miguel learns more karate. He recruits his friend Eli, who later becomes Hawk, because he was like this like really nerd. We'll talk a lot about Hawk later, but he's like this really like nerdy, awkward guy, and then he like gets a mohawk and like a tattoo, and he becomes confident and stuff, but whatever. We meet Daniel's daughter, Sam. She and Miguel start dating. Also, Daniel starts training this guy who he doesn't know who he is, but he's actually Johnny's biological son, who Johnny's like estranged from. And he's around the same age as all the other high school characters. So then, maybe I'll just do this where I like have allegiances. So Johnny, Daniel, Miguel's on this side, Hawk's on this side. Sam is Daniel's daughter, and Robbie is getting trained by Daniel. Then end of season 1, Miguel and Sam are dating, but then Miguel gets like jealous of Robbie because he finds out that they're like buds. So the two of them end up breaking up, and then Daniel finds out that Robbie is Johnny's son, and they're like, oh no, and he stops training him. And then it's the old Valley. Whoa, remember from Karate Kid. And the championship. Also in the semifinals, Hawk fights Robbie, and Hawk like hurts Robbie's shoulder because he's like super angry now because he has like a mohawk. Again, we'll talk about him in the future. So then so then in the championship it's Robbie versus Miguel because Hawk got disqualified, and Miguel's like targeting Robbie's shoulder because he hates Robbie because he thinks that Robbie was like moving in on his girl, which he was, but also not a fair thing to like, I'm gonna kick you in the shoulder purposefully because I know you're hurt because, you know, you have a crush on my girlfriend. Like, come on, Dad. Calm down, dude. So then Miguel ends up winning, and yeah, that's season 1. Woo! Season 2 opens up, and Carice shows up, and he's Johnny's sensei from Karate Kid 1, and I'm gonna be honest, I I'm getting kind of bored of this whole recap thing, and I feel like anyone watching it is really bored. Just the point is that there's a lot of like allegiances switching around and stuff, and Hawk. So eventually there's Tori who dates Miguel, Robbie and Sam date, and then at the end of season 2, Robbie, there's a huge school fight over like these like love square, and Robbie kicks Miguel over a banister, and Miguel is paralyzed and in a coma, and Robbie ends up going to juvie, and Kreese kicks Johnny out of the dojo, and then in season 3, Miguel learns how to walk again, and Johnny starts a new dojo with Miguel, and then Robbie's in juvie, he comes out to juvie, and he joins up with Kreese, because he hates his dad and he hates Daniel now. And then season 3, Miguel and Sam get back together. Hawk ends up switching sides and joins back up with them. And Johnny and Daniel become a team again, and then in season 4 they break up because the two of them can't manage to be allies. You might be wondering, why do they hate each other so much? Same. Oh, this is so bad. This recap is so bad. I should have thought about how I was gonna recap it prior to now. Oh, whatever. Season 4, there's an All Valley again, and Robbie is on Cobra Kai. Miguel is on Eagle Fang, which is Johnny's new dojo. Hawk and Sam are both on Miyagi-Do. That's the name of Daniel's dojo, by the way. And it ends up being where Hawk beats Robbie in the championship. Miguel gets hurt, and then he leaves for Mexico, because this whole thing. So at this point, Johnny started dating Miguel's mom, and he was already a father figure in Miguel, so it's like, yeah, he's your dad, but like Miguel's like, I have a dad actually. So he goes off to Mexico to meet his dad, and then in season 5 he meets his dad, and his dad's like a terrible person. So he's like, oh, and comes back, and then finally is Miyagi Fang, which is Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang, and they're back together. So on that team is Hawk, Sam, Miguel and Robbie, and there's a bunch of other characters that I haven't been talking about because they're not important. And then, oh, also, beginning of season 4, Kreese calls up his buddy Terry Silver, who was like really rich, and he's like, you want to help me out? Yeah. So then the end of season 4, Silver crosses Kreese, sends him to jail. So season 5, Silver is just running Cobra Kai. So Cobra Kai, it was led by Johnny, then Kreese crossed Johnny, kicked him out, and then Kreese brought in Silver, and then Silver kicked out Kreese. So then, the end of season 4, they managed to sell Silver to jail, and it's like, woo, we've all won, and they've qualified for the World Karate Championship. Oh, also, there's a character named, I mentioned Tori. Yeah, but Tori was still on Cobra Kai that whole time, but at the end, she switches sides and joins up with Miyagi Fang. Season 6, they decided to go as Miyagi-Do instead of Miyagi Fang, because Miyagi Fang is a really stupid name. Woo! Okay. Season 6, there's a world championship, and then Tori's mom dies, so she gets really angsty, and she decides to join up with Cobra Kai, which at this point is led by Kreese, and it's Kreese, Tori, and then a Dojang from Korea, naturally, because it's World Karate Championship, so they're the Korea team. Like, I assume South Korea. They're the South Korea team. It's never really said. The flag is South Korea. Yeah, it's South Korea. But yeah, and then World Karate Championship, blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about some of the details of it later. Robbie's in the championship against this guy who's like a monster. It was not like he's like monster as in strong, but like he's like a good guy. But then that guy, his sensei's like, you gotta break his leg. So he breaks his leg. So then Robbie's out. But then Miguel is taking over. Decides that Miguel takes over as the boys' captain for Cobra Kai, with Johnny as their sensei. So it's like Miguel and Tori and Johnny on Cobra Kai. But like Daniel's cool at this point because he's had 6 seasons of character development to decide that he's okay with Johnny being the sensei of Cobra Kai, which is literally like, I guess like that's what the show started with, was Daniel wasn't okay with Johnny being the sensei of Cobra Kai, and it took him 6 seasons to be okay with that. So yeah, but then Miguel and Tori both win the championship, and yeah, and then it's like a beautiful happy ending and everyone gets what they want. Yeah, happy times. So now that you've assuredly not remembered everything I said, my hope is to get pictures of these people and have it like flash when I talk, so then you'll be like, ah yes, Johnny, I know who Johnny is. That's the picture that goes whenever I say Johnny. Obviously I've done a lot of forethought. Okay, I'm changing my marker because the green's not cutting it. So Alright, so Johnny Johnny's what I would call a kind asshole. So the show starts out and he is a disaster. Like, he's the protagonist of the show, but season one he is like assuredly an asshole. Like, he's an alcoholic and he has this real like rough demeanor and like type of speech where he says like people are like bitching at him, and he calls a lot of people pussies like if they don't do things, which is like problematic language, you know, because it's like pretty anti-women, but he like learns to not be anti-women. Like, he lets women into his dojo and he's like pretty uplifting. There's this one character named Devin, who's a girl, and like he has like this good relationship with her. By the end of the show, Miguel's mom is pregnant with Johnny's daughter. Like, he has a lot of like character development, but he still has that same like, I don't know, anti-snowflake about him. Like, he spends the whole like, so the primary doctrine of Cobra Kai is strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And like the whole show is about like kind of grappling with that, of like whether or not that's a good philosophy, because the show, which like the overarching problem of the show and why it's so stupid is that strike first, strike hard, no mercy is probably a good strategy for karate. Like it probably, like, okay, disclosure, the only combat sport I've ever done is I did judo as a wee child, as in I have vague memories of doing judo, very, very vague. So I don't really know anything about combat sports. But I'm gonna talk like I have some opinions. But Cobra Kai, like that philosophy of strike first, strike hard, no mercy, is probably a pretty good philosophy for karate. But the problem with the show is that it has to apply all of its teachings for karate to life. And striking first and striking hard, probably a good thing. Like, that's like going out and getting what you want and being confident and trying hard. But the problem is, what does no mercy mean? Like, what? And the show spends the better part of 6 years trying to figure out what no mercy means, and it never really figures it out, you know? But back to Johnny. We'll talk more about no mercy at a later point. But Johnny, he spends like the whole show, he's trying to become like a better person for various reasons, because he wants to like be a good sensei, and he wants to be a good like dad to Miguel, and later Miguel is not his biological son, by the way, but later he decides he also wants to be a good dad to Robbie, and like, so he really like wants to be a good person, and he like puts in the work to become a better person, but he never like changes his like fundamental outlook on like, I don't know, fighting against like woke culture, kind of. He kind of has like this attitude of like, oh, that's okay, I suppose. Like, I don't know, like, so he decides that like women are allowed in his dojo, and now it's like a whole thing, but he allows a woman in because like she beats up another person. Like, I don't know, like, he thinks that everyone, like, that like the cool people in the world are people who go out, and when they have a problem, they fight back with their fists, despite the fact that Johnny has spent most of his adult life learning that when someone has a problem with you, punching them in the face is the wrong move. He has shown that repeatedly. He goes to jail a couple times with it. But those are the students that he looks for, people who are willing to just like fight back. And he's saying that he's trying to make people like their strongest selves and like build confidence in them, you know? And a lot of the characters do gain a lot of confidence, but as we'll talk about later with like Hawk, and to a lesser extent like Robbie and Miguel, when they learn these teachings, it makes them assholes. And Johnny isn't an asshole, but like, he kind of is. Like, there's a couple jokes throughout the show where they talk about, where someone says like the term gender fluid, and Johnny's response is basically, he's like, oh, I don't know what gender fluid is. And like, at one point, a person calls and he's like, yeah, we let in like boys and girls into our dojo, you know, we're so progressive like that. And the person, it's probably the person on the other side, says like, what about gender fluid children? And he's like, gender what? Is this a prank call? And it's like a joke, even though like, I think that people not being accepting of all genders is like a problem. And I don't know if that's like a joke, which begs the question, like, does the show not, like, the writers of the show, and is the show presenting that like using all of these like fancy labels and stuff is ridiculous? And like is that the argument of the show, or is the show just saying that that's what Johnny thinks? Johnny's the show's protagonist, so. And then like later on, he is trying to recruit this one girl, and he like says a lot of like very like progressive like feminist talking points, and she's like, what about gender fluid people? And he was like, yeah, gotta get all your fluids, that's great. And the show was like, ha ha ha, gender fluid like water, which like, not funny, but again, it's hard to say whether the show is just saying that that's the thing that Johnny says, but I think the show writes it as being a joke. And I don't know, I don't pretend to be a like I'm cis. I don't think that I am the best person to talk about this, but I just mean, that's just an example of like something that the show, you know, treats Johnny as like, he has these like rough opinions, and like in season 4, Miguel, he's paralyzed, and Johnny, and like he's having like physical therapy done by this like very like granola-y dude, which like I don't know, like physical therapists have like a lot of schooling, but I don't know. The only physical therapist I know is my aunt, and this guy's like nothing like her. But whatever. And Johnny's like, you can't do all that like science crap. It's nonsense. And like, I don't know. I feel like physical therapy is real. And Johnny solves Miguel's paralysis via taking him to a rock concert and yelling at him. It works, apparently. And like, that's his whole like teaching philosophy of like, I'm just going to be kind of an asshole to you and you'll like rise above it. And like, for a lot of things I do think it works, but I think that like the show, I don't know, maybe I just disagree with the fundamental like, which isn't like bad, I disagree with it, but like the fundamental like argument that the show's making with Johnny, that like people should be like people should be able to like take a punch to the face, and people should like scream at each other, and like, you know, but I feel like the show is fighting against a problem that I don't think actually exists. Like, it's fighting against people who are like too nice to each other, and maybe that is a problem in California. I don't know, I've never lived in California. Oh, the show takes place in California, by the way, in the Valley. They're always talking about the Valley. Yeah, so the San Fernando Valley, which is like part of LA. I looked up its population, and it's actually like massive, but yeah, it's still not that big, but they're always talking about the Valley. But like the show, it's like people who unnecessarily use too many like terms and labels, and they try and do things like physical therapy to solve their problems, and they go to like rehab. Also, Johnny's an alcoholic for the entire show. He never goes to rehab. He still drinks for the entire show. But it's like all of these like the show, like I don't know, like new wave things, just ways to like solve problems. And the show is like, yeah, like people just gotta be like tougher. And like I think the show overall is like, you gotta be tough without being an asshole, because people are gonna be mean to you, but you have to like stand up against them. But I feel, I don't think that problem that much exists. I feel like we could use more like accepting of like, well, first of all, accepting of science. I think that you should believe in science. Johnny doesn't apparently believe in peanut allergies, so whatever. And like you have to be like tough to other people and kind of like, you know, be able to like take a punch to the face, when I feel like in the real world I feel like we would benefit more from like having more like love and compassion for people rather than being ready to fight back, you know? I feel like we should be more forgiving of others. Okay. Now that I've talked for almost 30 minutes already and I've only made it through the first character, woo! Well, I had to do the whole recap nonsense. Oh, so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. But, yeah, the point is Johnny is, like, okay, first of all, he's objectively hilarious. Like, for some reason, he, seems to have been in a coma since the 80s, so, like, there's so many things that he's never heard of the internet, which, like, the show kind of presents it as, like, the world would be better without the internet, which, maybe. But also, Johnny learns how to use the internet. I don't know. Hard to say. But the overall message of the show seems to be that you have to be a tough person in order to like survive the toughness of the real world. And you can do that by kind of being mean to people, and that's okay. Yeah, but that's Johnny. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, to our second main character, Daniel. So Daniel was the protagonist of the first 3 Karate Kid movies, and he, in the Karate Kid movies, his sensei is Mr. Miyagi. And by the time of the show, both Mr. Miyagi and his actor are dead, which is like super sad. And the thing is Mr. Miyagi is like a very good person. Like he's like very nice to Daniel and was trying to help out Daniel, but also like just to his enemies. Like in the first scene of Karate Kid 2, Kreese attacks Daniel, and Daniel wins the fight, obviously. And instead of like doing anything to majorly damage Kreese, he like bonks, like he like squeezes his nose, like honk. And that's just so delightful. And Mr. Miyagi says that the best way to win a fight is don't be there. Like, which is fair. Like, if someone's trying to fight you, don't fight him. Like, Mr. Miyagi only fights in very, like, specific circumstances, mostly just to defend Daniel. Like, if Daniel's getting physically attacked, Miyagi comes and saves the day. And he is... And, like, he's so forgiving to Daniel. Like, in season 3. In the third Karate Kid movie, Daniel kind of turns his back on Miyagi for a bit. And he ends up joining up with, like, Kreese and Silver. And, well, I guess just Silver. But Miyagi is just like, let me help you. Like, I can tell you're going through something. Let me help you with it. And, like, I feel like Mr. Miyagi is who we should all be striving to be, and he's very the antithesis of Johnny. Like, I think that, you know, he's just like a kind soul. But point is Daniel wants to be Mr. Miyagi. Like, that's his goal. And I don't really like Daniel, but I think it's interesting the fact that Daniel fails so spectacularly at it. Like, for one thing, he's kind of just a more angry person. Like, he like yells at people a lot, and like at one point in season 6, he's in an argument with Johnny and he just punches him in the face. Like, because Miyagi-Do, first tenet of Miyagi-Do is karate is for defense only. Second tenet is refer back to the first tenet. So like, that's not defense only. But yeah, like, which like arguably Johnny like was like has been like corrupting him for the whole show. I think that's 100%. But even like in the first season, which this isn't going to be him using karate, but arguably like the show presents it as like karate is life, so I think it's valid for me to give this example. Johnny just opens a dojo. That's all he's doing. He's like a small business owner. He's trying to help out some kids. You know, he's trying to like turn his life around. And Daniel actively goes out of his way to try and like take down this dojo for like seemingly no reason. Like aside from the fact that he knew this dojo 30 years ago and didn't like it, Daniel goes on offense to try and take him out. It's not defense. He's not like these people, like later on in the show, like Cobra Kai tries to like attack Daniel and stuff. And then you could argue it's defense. But Daniel was the first aggressor. He says, I'm taking down this dojo. And even like the end of season 2, he's like, we're going on offense. We're gonna try and get more people in this dojo so that way we can take down Cobra Kai. And like, why? Like, come on, man. Like, he wants to be like Mr. Miyagi and be like a pacifist and be really chill and stuff. but he really, really doesn't know how to do it. And like that is the thing that he talks about a lot, that he's like, I don't know what you would want, but like I think you do. Like I think that Mr. Miyagi only in the first Karate Kid movie, Mr. Miyagi only goes to train Daniel and like allows him to like fight in the tournament and stuff after like months of harassment. You know, then he's like, okay, let's finish this. Let's end it with the tournament. And Daniel, he's not letting anything end. Like he continually keeps trying to like fight Cobra Kai's existence until finally in season 6 he's like, okay, like Johnny, we've had enough character development and I trust you, I'm on board with you, you can restart Cobra Kai. But like it's such a long time. And even when like if you're like it's just like the name Cobra Kai, like Johnny starts Eagle Fang and he hates Eagle Fang because he thinks it's too rough and aggressive, which like I kind of agree, but also I think that Miyagi-Do is kind of dumb. Like, okay, just real quick. So the whole thing with Miyagi-Do is, you know, like the wax on, wax off. So you learn how to do karate via like chores. So in Karate Kid, the main chores he does are wax on, wax off, sand the floor, sand the floor, sand the floor, sand the floor, paint the fence, paint the fence, paint the house, paint the house. So again, I don't know karate. But this, if you're blocking like here, that medium, I feel like you would prefer to hit like forearm. And then this has got to be so goddamn stupid. Like if you try to block someone's punch with your wrist, like I feel like you would break, like this, you would have to break your wrist, right? Like, come on. But, sorry. Again, I don't know karate. But I don't think that Miyagi-Do is perfect. And they all learn like it's supposed to be defense only. But I don't know. Okay. Continuing on. Brilliantly. So, yeah. Point is that Daniel spends the whole show desperately trying to take down Cobra Kai for like it doesn't really feel like he has a great reason to, like early on in the show. Later in the show, Cobra Kai, like Kreese and Silver get on board, he's like trying to take them down. And I feel like part of the show's problem is that there are no like good people aside from like the protagonist. Like all of the other karate people are all bad guys. Like even in season 6, so it's the World Karate Championship. So you're like assuredly there'll be like cool people. So the main dojos there are Miyagi-Do, which has all of the protagonists except for Sam, who's on Cobra Kai, and Kreese is with her. And then there's also the Iron Dragons, which is the team that Silver bought, and those people are also evil. And you're like there's a girl who she tries to steal Robbie from Tori, and she's just like kind of a mean person, and you're like, why? Like why aren't there like cool people? Because like meaning I'm like there seems to be some other people around, but none of them are really characters. And you can say it's like because like, you know, we already have like good guys, but like I feel like there was a missed opportunity there to have like show the example of like there are other good karate people in the world, you know, to have like characters that are like young people who do karate and are just like normal people that are just like into karate, as opposed to this world where karate is this like crazy battle of fates between like Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. Either you're offense and you're an asshole and there's no mercy and you're gonna cheat and try and kill everyone, or you're Miyagi-Do and you're a protagonist and you're trying to do defense only, but sometimes you're a little flawed and you don't succeed. Like, it's this like epic duel between the two when it's karate, guys. Like, it's not that deep. Like, oh, it doesn't need to be that deep. Like, I feel like they should have showed like a character who they can just like be friends with, you know, and it's just like chill. That'd be so dramatic. And like, I think they a little bit do it in I'm getting off topic. I was going to talk later about all the rivalries and stuff. Stay on focus, Allison. I have a whiteboard to my left that says like what I'm supposed to be talking about, so that way I stay on topic. And I'm doing a really great job thus far. Don't worry. Okay, so pinning rivalries. Point is, Daniel, he sucks. No, so this is just like annoying for the whole show, and yeah, not a big fan of him. Yeah. Bye. All right. So Miguel. Miguel is introduced in the very first episode. One second. A little bit of water. All right, so Miguel is introduced in the very first episode, and it's clear that like Johnny's gonna be a mentor figure to him. And over the course of the show, he goes from being a mentor to him to like his dad. Like in season 6, there's a scene where like Miguel and Johnny are flying back from the World Karate Championships because Miguel's mom is pregnant and there's complications from the pregnancy, and Miguel and Johnny are in a fight, and because Miguel's like, I feel like you're favoring Robbie over me, and it's like tough, and Johnny is like, hey, you're my son too, and like it's a very like heartwarming scene. Because like, yeah, Johnny is Miguel's father, and they've like their relationship is definitely like the heart of the show. Like season 3 is probably like probably the most serious season of the show. Like they tried to be very serious with it, because season 2, like I said, like at the end of the season, Miguel gets kicked over a banister. Tori actually like cuts open Sam's arm with these like brass knuckle things, and so they're like, yeah, in season 3 we're gonna like try and like, you know, we're gonna be a little darker with him, and like Robbie's in juvie in season 3, and it's, yeah, but like in that season, Johnny for most of the season isn't a sensei at all. He's like, my full-time job is trying to help Miguel, because he's like this, like he's like, basically, this is my son and I really care about him. Yeah, I don't have that much like critique of this. I just wanted to say that like, I think that like Johnny might be a bad person, and Miguel forgives him a lot for like the way that he's ridiculous, but like I think that's very heartwarming. Like in season 1, Miguel, he learns how to like kick, but he doesn't learn any defense, so then he ends up like, he tries to fight back against his bullies, but he like does one kick and it's really good, and then he like can't block, so he gets like beaten up and like pretty severely, and Johnny ends up going to his mom and he's like, hey, like he is the only person who like sees that I'm still a good person. Please let me try to help him. Like I promise I will do right by him. And like this whole time Miguel's like, yeah, like I really believe in Johnny. And like for a lot of the show, like Miguel has to like grapple with like when Johnny like makes mistakes. Like in season 3, Miguel is like, hey, like I listened to everything you said and now I'm paralyzed. And then in season 4, Miguel's like, yeah, like I'm frustrated about like everything. So he ends up like being like, I'm gonna go find my real dad. And then like he ends up accepting Johnny like as his dad. And I do think that their relationship is something that the show does really well. And I think that like it's something like the heart of the show. The two of them. Yeah. The only problem is part 4, Robbie. So, Robbie is Johnny's like biological son, and Johnny has been largely absent from Robbie's entire life. And like in season 1, Robbie drops out of school, so Johnny's like goes to his mom and is like, Robbie should start living with me, I'm gonna make him go to school. And then she says no, and then by the time that Robbie actually hears about this, he goes to his dad because he's like, maybe my dad, sorry, it's really warm in this room. He's like, maybe I should move in with my dad. And so he goes to his dad and he sees this like really heartwarming scene between Johnny and Miguel, where Johnny is giving Miguel his old karate uniform, gi, and is like very adorable. And obviously Robbie is like very hurt by the fact that Johnny is like this like father figure to some other kid that's not him. So then Robbie goes to get trained by Daniel, only because he knows that it'll upset his dad. But then once he gets on with Daniel, he's like, I don't know, he like is super chill all of a sudden. Like he isn't that angry, and like he like talks about how like Daniel gave him balance, and Daniel gave him balance just so quickly. I feel like it was the first time that Robbie has not been neglected, because Robbie, so he has a dad who's just a deadbeat, and a mom who is like very neglectful and is like gone a lot. Like in season 2, she goes to Cabo, and you know, I feel like Daniel's like the first person in Robbie's life to like actually like, you know, care about him. And it just like helps Robbie so tremendously. And then like in season 2, Robbie's like a very good guy, you know, like he just like he never really does anything wrong. And I think this is interesting because I feel like the show kind of presents Robbie, because Robbie and Miguel are like major rivals until part of the way through season 5. Like by season 6, they're like best friends and, you know, they're brothers and stuff. But by like until part of the way through season 5, so like most of the show, they're like definite rivals. And I think it's interesting because like the show kind of wants Robbie to be like, you know, like a Sasuke, like Naruto and Sasuke, like that type of dynamic, and have it be that they're like, it's like the protagonist and then the bad boy, and, you know, it's like Miguel who's like nerdy, and then Robbie who like in his first scene he's like, maybe not his first scene, I have no idea what his first scene is, but in like one of the early scenes they're like stealing computers, you know. But like Robbie like stops being a bad boy like, I don't know, moments into like halfway through season 1, and then all of season 1, like the rest of season 1 and then season 2, he's like definitely like a good guy, and like arguably Miguel's the bad boy at that point. But then he goes to juvie, and he like you know, he like gets in fights and stuff, and he has to drop like the Cobra Kai philosophy because he's in juvie. Like, you know, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And he gets out and he joins Cobra Kai. And this is when I think Robbie's the most interesting. He is because for basically the entire show, he's a very bland character. But like, I think that he's most interesting in like late season 3, but like definitely season 4, because like nobody cares about Robbie for the entire show. Like, Daniel cares about him in the early seasons, but he definitely cares about his daughter like a lot more, which makes sense. And Johnny cares about him, but he cares about Miguel more. Sam dated him, but she never really was over Miguel. Tori dates him, but like she has like a lot of family stuff going on, so she never really like has time to like actually care about him. So yeah, nobody cares about Robbie. Nada. And season 4 is the season that he's like, yeah, I know that no one gives a shit about me, but I'm doing my own thing, actually. And like, he's in Cobra Kai, but he's very much like, I'm only in Cobra Kai because I'm trying to win the All Valley, and this is the dojo that's training me. Like, so throughout the whole show, they do this like, they have it where all of the, like, it's most seen in like seasons like 2 and 3. That's when like the rivalry's at its peak. But like, all of the Cobra Kai people wear red, yellow, and black throughout all of like season 2 and season 3, and all of the Miyagi-Do people wear like greens and blues. Like, you can see it really well. And like the school fight at the end of season 2, hopefully I'll have pictures of it so you can see, but because, you know, it's like gang warfare, so you have to wear your gang colors. And the good thing in like season 2 is Sam has blue eyes and Robbie has green eyes, and they look good in blue and green. So like, them as characters, like, it's advantageous for them to wear those colors. But then in season 4, Robbie's in Cobra Kai, but he never really like drinks the Kool-Aid. Like, he never starts wearing Cobra Kai colors that much. Like, he still wears like dark green, because it's kind of like, it's not like because he's still loyal to Miyagi-Do. I think he looks good in greens. They have him wear green, but they don't have him wear, I think the more important thing is they don't have him wear Cobra Kai things, because Robbie doesn't care about Cobra Kai. Robbie in season 4 is just like, nobody cares about me, so I don't care about anyone else. And like, you might be like, well, that's just sad. Yeah, it is. That's the thing. It's so sad. Like, Robbie's life is super sad. Nobody cares about him. And in season 4, he's like very like open about that fact. And then he kind of just gets over it. Like, at the end of season 4, he goes to his dad and he's like, hey man, can you help me? Like, and Johnny didn't even earn it. Like, basically, he just like is like, Johnny, can you be my dad again? And Johnny's like, sure. Like, and Johnny didn't even like do anything to like earn getting back in Robbie's good graces. Like, that's not a thing that actually happened. And you know what Johnny does right when like Robbie moves in with him at the end of season 4? They go to Mexico to get Miguel back, the two of them. Like, poor Robbie. He's like, Dad, can we like hang out and try to improve our relationship? And Johnny's like, yes, I would love to do that. Let's go get my other son back, actually. Poor guy. But yeah, like, that's why the title is weirdly mature. That like, well, even in like season 4, he gives this whole speech where he's like, yeah, like, people act like Cobra Kai or Eagle Fang or Miyagi-Do. Like, there's only one way to do karate. He's like, but like, you know, it's just whatever works for you. And like, yeah, that's true. Like, everyone's like, my way of doing karate is the best way of doing karate. But like, why? Calm down, guys. It's karate. Like, obviously there's a lot of different ways to do karate. Like, that's like, it doesn't need to be some like deep argument that you're like, we should train karate this way, we should train karate that way. Like, the show presents it as like the way you train karate is like a metaphor for like how you live your life, but like, even in like life, there's a lot of different ways to live. I know I started this video by talking about how like people shouldn't be so aggressive and stuff, but like, even though I disagree with like Johnny's like gruffness towards the world, I do think that he's trying to be a good person. So I respect the fact that he has a different way of being a good person than I do. I just don't know that his way is the way that needs to be like taught. Which, I guess I'm agreeing with Daniel. Daniel's so annoying, and Daniel's way is wrong too. So I guess everybody's wrong. Mr. Miyagi's the only correct person. So I have a lot more to say, but I think the people should just rewatch the Karate Kid movies and fast forward through Daniel being annoying, because he's really annoying in that too, and just be like, Mr. Miyagi, you're a cool person. Better yet, don't watch any of this stuff. It's all so bad. There are so many better things you can learn about like how to live your life. Yeah, but whatever. Robbie, just super like okay with it all for some reason, and I don't understand. Like in the end of season 6, after he's like broken his leg, I like kicked my leg and you couldn't even see it. After he's broken his leg in the World Karate Championship, he is talking to Johnny, his dad, and about how about how like karate has like helped his life a lot, even though like it just like broke his leg. And he's like, yeah, like it's giving me all my best things, like it's giving me my friends, it's giving me my girlfriend, it's giving me my dad. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're thankful for karate because it made your dad stop being a deadbeat? Ugh, that's so sad, man. I don't know, I have pretty active parents in my life. I don't know what it's like. So maybe that's on me for not understanding what it's like to have a deadbeat dad, but I don't know, it was really, really sad. Like, it was supposed to be this heartwarming moment in the show where like Johnny and Robbie are having this like heartfelt talk, and I'm just like, Jesus, Robbie, you deserve better. And like, he can't even go to college at the end of it because he paralyzed Miguel, which like, yeah, is fair, but it's just like so sad. Oh, also, side note, immediately before that heartfelt conversation, Tori is like, don't worry, I'm gonna murder everyone who wronged you. And it's like, that's genuinely hilarious. Like, and that's just such an over-the-top reaction. It's like, they broke your leg, I'm gonna murder them and all of their friends. Oh my god. No, that's the thing about the show. He's like, they're just so dramatic. So dramatic. Oh my god. Okay. Enough talking about Robbie. But justice for Robbie. He's an incredibly boring character. I don't really care about him that much. But I feel like people should care about him, you know? Yeah, you know. Yeah, you got it. Okay. So, So Hawk is like definitely the most interesting character. Okay, I'm getting tired, I'll be honest. Ugh. Can you see me if I sit? Yeah, perfect. So Hawk is definitely the most interesting character on the show. So he starts out the show and his name is Eli. And they make a joke about it, about how doctors think he might be on the spectrum. And then Johnny says, well, get off it, pronto. God. See, Johnny. But it is funny. Oh, what a complicated. But yeah, like, Hawk seems to be autistic, maybe. Again, I'm not the most qualified to diagnose him. That's not really, but like, he starts out the show and he's like incredibly, like, he's like pretty like nerdy and quiet, and he doesn't really talk that much. And then he joins Cobra Kai, and he gets a mohawk, and he decides to be like really, really confident, and he's like very like, he ends up getting a girlfriend just because he's like cool and confident and stuff. And it teaches you that like being confident is attractive. Crazy, I know, right? But the thing is he like gets like for sure red pilled by like a little bit Johnny, but definitely by like Kreese, that he breaks Robbie's arm in the All Valley at the end of season 1. And then in season 2, he has a friend named Dimitri. He's also in the show. Arguably, he's like a pretty important character in the show, but I don't care about Dimitri, so I haven't really been mentioning him at all. But he attacks Dimitri in the mall because Dimitri left a bad review about Cobra Kai, and he's like, "You can't say bad stuff about my gang!" Roar! And in season 3, he ends up actually breaking Dimitri's arm. And then at the end of season 3, he decides pretty suddenly, well, okay, wait, flashback. So throughout like seasons like 2 and 3, there are like times that like people will like reference stuff. Like they'll like reference back when he was like really, really nerdy. Like it's mostly a Dimitri thing, but also like his bullies end up joining Cobra Kai, and like they'll reference stuff. And you see, like, I think his actor does a really phenomenal job of it, but you see that it's all a facade. Like the confidence isn't real. Like I think some of it is, but a lot of it is just very much a mask that he is putting on. And he's like, dropped my ring. He's like, I have to have this like mask of being a very confident guy in order for people to like me, because before I was shy and quiet and nobody liked me. And yeah, that's super sad, obviously, but also just like it's like, it just, he joined this cult that, like, Cobra Kai is definitely like very cultish, and he is like, I have to be a part of this cult, and part of the cult is you have to be very like strong and powerful and stuff. So he has this huge facade, but he's like, I'm hurting people around me, and I don't even have any friends. Like by the end of season 3, Miguel's not in Cobra Kai, Dimitri's not in Cobra Kai, and they're like friends with each other, and he was kind of like top dog after Miguel left, but then Robbie ends up joining, and Robbie is like genuinely like a badass. Like he's like genuinely a badass, yeah. Like this is something you're born as, but like there's a scene in season 3 where they're all like, all the Cobra Kai people are hanging out, and Hawk is like, do you want a beer? And Robbie's like, no, I'm good. And he's like, what, you can't drink a beer? And Robbie's like, no, I just don't need to drink beer to pretend to be cool. Like, you know, Robbie like that's a lot, in my opinion, that's a lot cooler than drinking beer. It's to be like, I'm too good for beer, actually. And you see like Hawk's reaction where he's like, this guy's better at this than me. Like he's better at being so like aggressive and stuff. I don't know. So then in season 4, he's joined up with like the good guys, and then he ends up getting shaved. So he has like a mohawk, and ends up getting like the mohawky part shaved off by Cobra Kai, like mostly by Robbie, which is like the worst thing that Robbie does in the show for sure. Well, okay, he kicks Miguel over a banister, but that was obviously on accident, and I feel like you know, intentionality counts to some extent, but like he shaves Hawk's head, but like definitely he was trying to prevent them from like actually like hurting Hawk and like gang warfare, like a gang assault type thing. So he's like, we're just shave his head. And then Hawk is like, I have no idea who I am now because I've lost my, like, he was like, I'm no longer in Cobra Kai, which that's okay. And he's like, but now I don't even have my mohawk. And he was like, there's a scene in season 4 that's really good where he's like, I played a bad act and I lost and I just showed everyone that I was just an asshole. Like he was like, I wasn't even that good at fighting, but I was just mean to people. And then like that storyline's kind of resolved. Like the end of season 4, he gets back together with his girlfriend because she's like, yeah, like I didn't like you being so mean to people and being a bully, but I did like you being a confident person. And he's like, yeah, I can be confident without being mean. So then he ends up winning the All Valley, and it's wonderful. And then like the rest of the show, it kind of feels like the show doesn't really know what to do with Hawk after that. Like there's a whole storyline in season 6 where he and Dimitri are going to different schools and they fight over it and stuff. And arguably you're like, yeah, they just like had no idea what to do with him. But also I feel like he didn't really know what to do with himself. Like he was a really nerdy person, didn't really have any friends. And then he was like really crazy and was like the head of a gang. And then he was on like his like redemption track where he was like trying to like be a better person and trying to figure out how to do that. And then he was kind of like, I don't even know who I am. Like I've gone through so much transition in my life in the past couple years. He was like, I don't know who I am at this point. And that's fair. He is like, okay. The World Championship is technically a U18 tournament, which is ridiculous because all of them should be 18. By my count, Robbie should be 19, whatever, it doesn't matter. But say he's 17 at the end of the show. He's like, yeah, I'm 17. The past 2 years, I've had just so much crazy character development. I have no idea who I am. And yeah, like the show doesn't seem to know what to do with him, but I feel like he doesn't know what to do with himself. So I feel like that's fair. But yeah. Hawk is a very good actor. I think that he should be bare minimum, he gives a very good performance. Arguably, it's just like how it's written and stuff, but I think that actor should be in more stuff because I think that he does a very good performance. But yeah, it like shows he had this like indoctrination into this cult and he got out of it, but he was still like, I have to like, I don't know who I am outside of it. Yeah, I don't know. I really like Hawk. His name's a little Eli, but I don't care. I call him Hawk because why not? Alright. I'm putting up the chair for the next part. Okay. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir. So Tori she was introduced as in season 2 basically as like a new love interest for Miguel because he and Sam had broken up and it's teen drama. But she definitely spends the most time in Cobra Kai in the show. Of like the main character. I'm trying to think. Maybe not. Most seasons. Sure, most seasons. Let's say that. In Cobra Kai in the show, but like she and she, like, is a character who Cobra Kai, like, kind of makes sense for her. Like, I think she already had that outlook on life prior to joining Cobra Kai. Like, the whole, like, fight back, don't take crap from anyone. Like, have confidence and stuff. That seemed to be, like, when she was introduced with those, like, character traits, as opposed to, like, Hawk and Miguel, who ended up developing those character traits as a result of, like, indoctrination into the club. Like, she seemed to be like this is already what I think, so this is a dojo that aligns with my beliefs. But she so she spends, like, a lot of the show, like, I don't know, being pretty angry. Like, so she starts out in season 2 and she meets Miguel and she's like, oh, he's cute. And then Miguel's like, yeah, I'm really not over my ex-girlfriend. And she's like, you should date me instead of your ex-girlfriend. They're obviously not over. And he's like, okay. And then they date and then he cheats on her with Sam, which is bad. Yes. Also, like, Sam, like, she knew he was not over Sam. Like, I'm not saying that what he did was okay. I'm just saying that she shouldn't have dated him. Like, come on, Tori. And then she quits Cobra Kai because she has to, like, take care of her mom, because her mom is super sick and she has a younger brother who's, like, in school and stuff, and she's spending all of her time trying to, like, help out her family. And she has a very, like, difficult life. Like, it ends up culminating with her mom dying. And everyone's like, because then she rejoins Cobra Kai after her mom dies. And everyone's like, why didn't you talk to anyone about, like, your problems and stuff? And it's like, I don't know. She was really angry at the world. Like, she was dealt a atrocious hand and has just been, you know, kind of trying to tread water for the past, like, forever. And it's just bad. Very, very bad. Yeah. So, like, she has the whole no mercy because she says, like, the world isn't going to, like, oh, I think Johnny said it, but, like, the world doesn't show you any mercy, so why should you show them mercy? And she is a character who, like, yeah, the world actually has shown her no mercy. Like she's, like, 17, and her, like, it's been, I don't know if it's explicitly said, but it's at least implied that, like, her dad was, like, pretty abusive when she was a kid, but he's not around by then, and, like, her mom is super sick, and she's, like, a creepy landlord who's, like, creeping on her, and so, like, it's kind of super terrible, which is, so then in season 4, she starts talking to Amanda, who is Daniel's wife, and I think it shows the benefit of, like, if you show someone mercy, you know, because, like, Amanda helps her get back into school and stuff and helps set her up with, like, a therapist and stuff, and, like, Sam is super, like, angry about it because Sam and Tori hate each other a lot, but, like, it helps Tori a lot to, like, be shown mercy for the first time in her life. And that's why I think that, like, the whole you shouldn't show any mercy is crap. Like, I think that if you are merciful towards your enemies, they will be merciful towards you, you know? And, like, I know that, like, the world is more complicated than that, but I think that, like, if you project love, then worst case scenario, there's just more love in the world. And yeah, but then, like, despite how nice people have been to her at the end of, in season 6, she rejoins Cobra Kai because she's just so angry. And it's like a whole thing because she wants to be the girls team captain, and but she thinks because Daniel is one of the senseis, they're gonna end up picking Sam to be the girls team captain. So she's like, whatever, I'm gonna go join Cobra Kai. And she's like angry, and she ends up breaking up with Robbie, or they go on a break with Robbie because like she's like, you know, things are complicated and it's tough, but like her life sucks so much. That's why I know my sister doesn't like Tori and Robbie together, but I like them together because I feel like both of them are like this maybe isn't the best foundation for a relationship, but they're both like, everyone, like our whole lives, people don't care about us. But if we just care about each other, then that's like at least one person, and I think that that's super adorable, actually. But I think that like, yeah, Tori shows that like, if you are kind towards someone, then they will be kind back. Because Tori, she has so much like character development later in the show and kind of like gets her life back together because people are nice to her, you know? Like, Sam, like, maybe she should be the bigger person, but I think she has a worse hand dealt. Like, Sam ends up reaching out to her and is like, hey, like, after she's joined Cobra Kai, and Sam's like, hey, like, you know, do you want to train together? Despite the fact they're on the opposite team, and she's nice to Tori, and it like helps Tori a lot that Sam reached out. Yeah. So Mercy is good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 2 more left. Woo, I know, you're sitting there and you're like, no, I want this YouTube video to go on forever, Allison. Keep talking about all your thoughts and feelings. And as you're talking, continue looking like one of those, like, inflatables in the, like, at the car lots. Oh, God, okay. Gotta stop just talking for an hour straight. Start to lose my marbles. Woo. God. I also don't really like Sam that much. She's okay, I guess. But like, so Sam in season 3, Daniel was like, I'm shutting down Miyagi-Do because we failed, people got hurt, it was terrible. And Sam is like, we have to keep it going because we need to know how to protect ourselves. Which, the fundamental like thing of that, of like, we need to know how to protect ourselves against bullies who also learn karate. Like, I feel like there's like an underlying argument of, is karate good for people? No, it doesn't seem like it. It causes people to settle their arguments with their fists instead of with their words, which can't be good. Like, just 0 problems are solved in the show successfully by punching someone. Like, none. That does not work a single time. So yeah, like, we don't live in a society where if you're stronger, then you're gonna like be better. Like, that's not how the world works. But yeah, so Sam, she wants to like be able to protect herself and her friends from the bullies, and so she's like fighting against like bullying in season like 3 and 4. And then, okay, fast forward to season 6. So when she and Tori were gonna fight for the captain spot of Miyagi-Do for the world championship, she's like, yeah, I want to fight for closure. Because, like, me and Tori, we've been, like, in this, like, whole, epic duels thing forever. and I just want to like have one definitive fight to end it. And then that doesn't really happen because, you know, Tori doesn't really like fight, kind of, because she's like upset about her mom. It's like a whole thing. And so they don't have that fight, and then they're supposed to fight at the World Championship. But at this point, like, Tori's in like Cobra Kai, so it's like, again, this fight that's gonna be like for the fate of karate in the world. And then finally, so it's a whole thing with the World Championship, like, it gets like postponed. It's a whole thing. This guy dies. That's not really that important to this video, except for the fact that that guy has no redemption. He's like 17, never gets redeemed. Everyone else in the show has redemption. Like, Kreese ends up having a redemption arc. So 2 people who aren't redeemed: this child who dies and Silver. Yeah, Kreese has a great redemption arc where he ends up killing Silver. It's really badass. They're on a boat together, and then some lighter fluid gets spilled. Why is there just open lighter fluid on a boat? Nobody knows. And then Kreese throws a cigar at it, and then the boat explodes. Only the 2 of them are on the boat, by the way. Probably. It's probably a captain, actually, so. That's not great, but whatever. It was a cool scene. But back to Sam. So it gets postponed, and then when it comes back, Sam and Tori are like friends again, and Sam's like, I don't want to fight Tori, because she's like, I actually don't need to. And like, it's a sign of like character development where like, she's like, I don't need to fight Tori because like, I don't hate her, and like, I don't, like, Tori winning the World Championship matters a lot more to Tori than it does to Sam. So Sam is like, I'm gonna step aside and just let her go to the championship. And Tori ends up winning it all. Because Sam and Tori are supposed to fight in the semifinals. But like, I think the fact that Sam wanted Tori to try and win it all is the main reason why Sam didn't fight, because Sam was like, me winning it all wouldn't matter as much as Tori winning it all to her. But like, Sam just like not fighting is like a little bit like, it's like, I don't know, like, it's a sport. Like, I feel like the 2 of them could fight in like this like organized brawl, and it could be like a chill thing, you know, for like fun, but also, I don't know, maybe it would be like too intense, because so the rules of this, so normal karate matches in this world are just first to 3 points. You get a point if you strike like the torso or the head, which, how are you allowed to head kick people in these matches? I don't know. Feels like a weird thing for 16-year-olds to be kicking each other in the head without helmet on, but whatever. But then in the World Championship, the points are, it's unlimited points for like 3 2-minute rounds maybe, and 1 point if it's like torso or head, 10 points for a knockdown, and then 20 points for a knockout. So like, that's perhaps an escalation of their like fighting, but I feel like it could have been good if like Sam and Tori had a like, just the 2 of us, first to 3 points fight, seriously, just the 2 of us, you know. But I think that the show doesn't want Sam to lose because they're a very big fan of Sam in the show, but also Tori would totally win. Like, Tori's a much better fighter, she totally should win. That would just like make sense, like character wise, but dropped another ring. But yeah, but I think that, so on the one hand, Sam not fighting is like, she's accepting their she's like forgiving their rivalry, you know, and and it's like part of the whole, at the end of season 6, everyone's on the same side, you know, and they've like let go of their rivalries, but also it's continuing, at the same time, it's continuing the fact that karate is still this dramatic thing, that she can't even fight Tori for fun in this tournament. You know? That karate is so crazy that, like, the thought of fighting Tori just for funsies isn't a possibility, you know? I don't know. But yeah, that's Sam. Why do they fight in the show? The show seems to say the only reason you should use karate is for crazy karate wars and self-defense, which is arguably, like, a very, like, it's a martial art. Like, it's not a sport. It's a thing that is supposed, like, it was invented for, like, self-defense and, like, fighting people. So it is, like, maybe the show is, like, it's a pretty serious thing. You shouldn't be, like, just using it for funsies. Which is fair. I mean, karate's for defense only. Tori wasn't attacking Sam, so why would Sam fight back? Yeah. Alright. Last section. Woo! I have no idea how to spell stupidity. I'm not calling Amanda stupid, I'm saying that Amanda is demonstrating how stupid this all is. Like, Amanda so she is Daniel's wife, but she doesn't do karate. And throughout the entire show, she's like, this is so dumb. All of this is all just so dumb. Like, she, like, there's a point in season 6 where, Daniel, he has a headband from like Mr. Miyagi, so he goes on this, like, adventure to learn more about it, and Amanda's like, oh, now we're letting old karate apparel make all of our decisions, and it's like, yeah, that's stupid. Or, like, in season 3, they meet up with Allie, who was the love interest from the first Karate Kid movie. So she previously dated Johnny, and then she dated Daniel. And Amanda is like, oh, did you hear about the warring karate dojos? That it's like, yeah, this is dumb. The fact that you spend 6 seasons in a karate war is dumb. That's a really dumb premise. And, like, arguably, like, the show, like, that's the whole thing. Like, does the show take itself seriously? Sometimes. I don't know. Like, sometimes it feels like it's like a satire, where it's like, imagine a world where all of your problems are solved via karate wars. Like, that's ridiculous. And I really appreciate the fact that Amanda is there to kind of be, like, a straight man who's like, this is dumb. Why are you guys doing this? Stop. No. Just, like, be adults, be grown-ups, and don't fight each other for karate, for, like, the glory of, like, no. Yeah, that's basically all I had to say about Amanda. It's just to point out the fact that this is all, like, all of this is just so dumb. Yeah, so I guess conclusions. What did the show say? Various things. It's a decently problematic show, I would say, but it tries to say that, like, everyone is redeemable, probably, except for that one kid who died, and also Silver. They're both just crazy. But, like, it also shows, like, how people are, like, corrupted by, like, bad mentors, but the way that, like, your life can be, like, turned around by good mentors. So I think it shows, like, the benefits and, like, negative things you can have from how people treat you. Like, if someone treats you poorly, or, like, tells you to act poorly, especially if you're a young person who's, like, corruptible, like, more corruptible than, like, an adult, I think that you will in turn act poorly. Like, if everyone in your life is like, you should be a terrible person and, like, beat people up and stuff, then you're gonna do that. But if you're treated with kindness and people treat you well, then you in turn will respond by treating other people with kindness. But yeah, but you also, if you're like crying or something, or if you're like, maybe not crying, the show seems okay with crying by the end, but if you're like a physical therapist, then you're a pussy. That seems to be a thing the show thinks. But yeah, and rivalries are stupid, even if every member of the show takes so many seasons to learn that fact. Yeah, I like the show a lot. If you can't, I don't know if you can tell that. By the end of this, I have no idea what anyone thinks I think of the show. Bare minimum, I've seen it a couple times. Yeah, so if you're looking for a terrible show to watch, I guess you could watch this show. But I would say the takeaway from this video you should have is that you should love people. Yeah. I don't know if this got overly preachy, but